pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
It's hard to put your feet up when it's
That's why they put it so high.
I sent out the minutes to everyone. Does anyone want me to read the minutes?
I don't think so.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept as written.
Okay, Eddie Carey,
you have minutes.
Those are last. Second?
okay. We'll let Alec peruse them a little bit.
No, you can vote.
Okay,
God, it's all the way from November? Good thing we have minutes, because I sure don't remember.
having heard none, that I'll assume that as printed are acceptable.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
everybody say aye.
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 Oppose? Okay, carry.
Does anybody ever say no?
Not yet.
Well, sometimes,
The first time.
sometimes there might be a correction or edit, but, you know, that's,
I'm going to vote no next time.
Okay.
okay, so.
Be prepared to back up that statement, though.
You want to wait a
Yeah, to
few
back up
minutes,
that
or
statement.
or do you want to get
I
going?
want to say no.
No, I will
Say
just,
no.
I mean, we'll get going.
Just
If
no.
Okay, all
we
right.
have somebody come,
Okay,
then somebody will come, but
all right, so,
until then,
spring update.
we'll just start from the top here. Spring update in the Marine Services Department, specifically in the Harbor Master chapter. We have our mailing list, our 2025 mailing list. We did have a fee increase of $5 to $6 2 years ago, and we've been working good with a level-funded budget with that increase. Maybe next year we might think about going up 50 cents, we'll just see, or a dollar. We'll just see how that goes with putting next year's budget together. So the mailing went out on 4/23, and we started receiving some. And this is pretty much the bread and butter for the harbor enterprise, would be the waterway user fees. We have put channel markers in the east branch of the river to connect Hicks Bridge with the 88 boat ramp. We were gonna go out and do the west branch today, but it had a stiff breeze going, so we
So-
said, let's just wait till
so the-
Thursday. Let's pick our days.
East River, the buoys are in, right?
Yeah, the East River is good
Who is it? Who do you have now?
with,
Who's currently working?
myself and Gary Tripp. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a two-man show until, well,
Until it's not.
until it's not, yeah, until things start heating up. We're waiting to put the Hicks Bridge floats in. Those should be in by Mother's Day, the ones that we have used. I know there's been talk about new floats and things like that with the Landing Commission, but until then, we're gonna put the old floats in, definitely before Mother's Day. Usually, the Dharma Rowing Club will reach out and ask for our assistance with the Harbor Master Department using their boat and the Highway Department using their loader with forks. It usually takes us about an hour to put them in, so it's not a huge deal, but those are ready to go in. Other than that, it's just kind of business as usual. We did get a request for a pump. Our pump out is probably gonna be in probably sometime next week. That boat did receive a new 90-horse Yamaha, so we will be pumping with a brand-new outboard, which is good because we got our money's worth out of the old one. We did replace the lower unit with some used parts, and it was time. So that's a good thing.
There he is.
Carl.
I was down waiting in the basement for you guys. Good evening.
Just a quick update.
Okay.
Channel
Please.
markers are in. The mailing The mailing for the waterway user fee is out. We're starting to collect.
It's still $6 a foot.
It's $6 a foot, yep. Yeah, we haven't gone up on any pricing this
Well,
year,
we went up last year.
year before
$1.
last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last season was the first of 6.
Yep, yeah, so we've been good in our level fundedness. The Hicksbridge floats are gonna go in, the existing floats. Usually the Dharma Rowing Club will reach out,
Yeah.
and so when that happens, then but the unofficial start really for the boating season for me is Mother's Day. Weather dependent, we'll see. But that's about it. We're just business as usual moving forward. If there's any questions about anything that anybody has, the Slow No Wakes will probably go in a little bit later on, probably closer to Mother's Day also.
How's the response been on the new channel? Any, the
I
markers
have-
all in good places and?
The markers?
Feedback from the fishermen?
I feel like we were in a time machine and we're back in the year 2000. Really,
That's good.
That channel going out there, to me, it seems that what I'll just call the auxiliary channel that was a naturally formed channel merged with the dredging. We can get into that a little bit. I mean, we could roll right into that right now, unless there's anything else in the spring update. We can talk about the
Discussion.
the dredge channel and discussion with that. So the federal channel was dredged at a 2.2, maybe a little plus $1 million contract. They were able to finish with the timeline of January, I believe 15th is their last chance qualifier before winter flounder season happened and they had to stop everything. They were able to dredge, I believe, 75,000 yards out of the channel to then reconnect, we'll just say, the houseboat area of Tripp's mooring field, more or less to the Spindle Rock dock. The channel is back where it is marked on charts or chart plotters. Everything is put back to where it was. And the channel is, just like I was saying, it's a time machine back to the year 2000.
Is that when they did the last
So,
time?
so
Yes,
the charts, I mean, I get electronic updates like every day or every couple of days.
Yes.
It's still showing, maybe the Coast Guard hasn't,
they might not have updated that auxiliary channel yet.
yeah.
I can make a phone call tomorrow to make sure that they are
Because
going to update that.
I mean, they came
It's
down
still
with all
showing.
the buoys in. You would think they would have updated it.
They have come down and they have remarked it with all the buoys.
Yeah.
It seems that the auxiliary channel and the newly dredged channel have kind of merged into this similar location that we've seen before. There was some worry about the auxiliary channel competing with the newly dredged channel. Having gone out there, there is no more auxiliary channel to be seen.
It's
And
completely
if-
closed off,
and-
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if anything, we used to run 20 to 12 back in the day. That was kind of the sequence,
knowledge.
the local knowledge sequence to getting through there. Do not do that right now because
I mean, you
It's-
can run aground in a canoe.
it's amazing to see what 6
That's
months
shallow.
could do. Oh,
Yeah.
there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. So the channel is dredged. There was a worry about ghost moorings. The ghost moorings that were found, I believe, a few were Spindle Rock moorings that ASA took, I believe, off the barge or.
Yeah, I don't know where they kept. He put
Yeah.
them somewhere.
So it was just a few, because I know that the Army Corps was very worried about this project being halted with an abundance of ghost moorings. Who's gonna pay for it? What are we gonna do with them? And just knock on wood, that was not a factor to gum up this whole project
Yeah.
So a few of them with Spindle Rock.
with Spindle
Yeah, I
Rock.
mean, they were digging in the original channel, so there shouldn't be moorings in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too. Well,
If you start digging
They're in the old
outside
mooring
channel,
line.
you're gonna find plenty.
Yeah.
But in the channel,
Yeah.
you know, I think you're pretty safe.
This was a reassurance that I gave to the Army Corps of Engineers to say, Richie Earl before me and myself have not been awarding moorings in the federal channel.
Right.
You know, we're not giving out candy to, you know, everybody
Yeah.
doing this whole thing. You know, we try to keep that 200-foot channel that they have and keeping things out of it. So the dredging is done. A total cost to the town, as far as I know right now, is 0. The ghost moorings were taken care of, the 3 of them that we had. So I would just call that a win and just wait, there's more. I mean, we're gonna see. This is the ever-changing
The
kaleidoscope.
sandbar that was just at the north of the channel, where you head up to the west branch, now has moved up to beyond the
Yes,
Spindle Rock moorings.
yes.
And that's down to like 2 feet there now.
This
It
is,
looks like it's gonna close off that dense point again like it used to be.
yes, this is a problem that we're looking at right now. Gary and I were gonna go put the channel markers in the west branch today. Because of the wind, we said, let's wait till Thursday.
Yeah, I guess.
But we're going to have to go up there at low tide to figure out some kind of marcation and entry into the west branch. It's going to probably have to go through the northern end of the Spindle Rock mooring field somewhere.
That channel you've had marked for the past umpteen years will probably still work this year. But at the rate that sandbar's moving, next year, not so.
I think it's accelerated faster than that. I'll just call it the 4-pack. There's a 4-pack of channel markers heading into the west branch
Yeah.
before the red at Ben's Point.
Right.
That 4-pack is not, there's no water in that 4-pack anymore. We ran aground when we lifted the tackle a couple months ago to inspect it before this season.
Right.
It's getting to the point where we used to have 12 feet there,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Oh,
There was
yeah,
deep
absolutely.
water.
Yeah.
There was deep water over there. And we might have to cut them off because even cleated off to our service boat, we were not able to budge them.
No.
And there might be 6 feet of
There's 6
sand
feet
on,
in sand
on top of them.
You're not gonna move those things.
We might end up cutting those off and trying to figure out a new way to get up there for whatever can
Yeah.
present itself. So that 4-pack of west, 2 reds, 2 greens that created a 4-pack, I just call it the 4-pack, but
Yeah.
ultimately, we might have to figure out something else.
If you looked at the, along the marsh, is that channel opening up?
I haven't looked, but I've been looking at old photos and taking
I
a
mean, that's where it
look to
used to
see.
be for years and years.
For years was over there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got in our time machine and
Yeah.
went back to something completely, and now for something completely different.
Right.
That we've seen before, something, you know.
Yeah.
We'll get a Monty Python in there somehow. But,
Yeah, I was really amazed when I went down there. You know, in 6 months' time, it just, the amount of changes, it's just crazy.
yeah. I think a lot of it, I mean, with every bucket scoop, there's sand that is
Yeah,
being,
floating here.
that's
here and
floating
there,
off.
yeah.
There's a disbursement cloud
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Did that add to this arrangement? Absolutely.
right.
Is it naturally going through some sort of cyclical thing? Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Did you guys notice a fall off because of the channel?
Not really. You know, there, a lot more people question it once word got around, and we've already contacted DACWA, the mooring service that we have now, to let them know that, you know, notice to mariners, all the channel markers have changed, and just beware of that, you know, so that they know coming in, so, yeah. There'll be a few who
Well,
don't listen.
I mean, you don't want to,
Following their GPS, and it was last year.
I know a shortcut into Westport. You'll be pulling them off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, Towboat's already had their first job yesterday, so it's happening.
Yeah,
enough people are afraid of the harbor to begin with.
right, yeah. Who knows what happens this year, you know, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Let's hope we're good for at least a year.
Oh, yeah, I don't think anybody's nerves can take much more than
Yeah.
that. But the amount that things have changed in the past 6 months, it's a little unnerving too, to say, how long is that spaghetti gonna stick to the wall that we've fixed? And
What, What was the original, I mean, what was the depth that, when they completed? 8 feet or 9 feet?
9 feet,
9 feet.
yeah.
It's filling in already?
With the amount of sand that closed off the 20 to 12 deep channel and just the actual bar that's there, if you're looking at a river, if you're looking at a turn in a river, you want to call it an oxbow or whatever, it's pushing. It's already, it's pushing. It's got to be pushing. So.
Swell, yeah, I mean.
Oh, with the swell, yeah. So we'll see, the to be continued of this whole thing. But until then, I have not heard any ground strikes of commercial fishing boats. You know, we have some large boats that systematically go in and out of the mouth of the river, and at all tides, all hours. And unless somebody's heard something here, I haven't. So I'm going to knock on wood and just, you know, hopefully cross my fingers that we can continue a commercial operation out of the Westport, so.
Good.
All right, if there's any other questions about the dredging, anything?
No, so just to clarify, so coming into the harbor, all the markers are all.
Coming into the,
They mark a good channel.
Yes.
It's only going up the west branch that.
that we're,
they could be-
Yeah.
that potentially, yes.
They
So all,
have to be reworked, I'm saying.
there needs to be some reworking. For all practical purposes, the federal channel is fixed and back to where it is marked on charts. But we are going to have to rearrange what we'll just call the pitons, the private aids to navigation, that the town puts out. So. Next thing that we're looking at is a town dock feasibility study. I put in a grant to the Seaport Economic Grant Council for a feasibility study to be done on the Westport Town Dock. Now, this is going to look at the overall shape of the town dock. And let me back up a little bit. The Westport Town Dock and the money that is raised from the wharfage from commercial fishing boats tied up in Westport at the town dock goes into the Harbor Enterprise Fund. So we can start there. It's not in a separate thing. It goes into the Harbor Enterprise Fund. Same as the same pot that waterway user fee money would go into also. So this is something that with the Harbor Advisory as being watchdogs of the Harbor Enterprise Fund, this is just something that we need to pay attention to also. So the grant is going to take a look at the overall condition of the dock. In the past, let's just say 3 or 4 years, the town dock has gone underwater completely from unnamed storms. This study is going to go before we'll just say climate engineer, to see what the town dock, how much the town dock should be raised for, say, the next 100 years. And so that's not something that I'm qualified to do. We need to have somebody qualified to make that, I'll just call it a prediction. Does the town dock need to be raised up 2 feet? Does it need to be raised up 18 inches? You know, who knows? We'll see at the end of this.
And those estimates are all over the map,
They can be,
predictions.
they can be all over the map.
How
Absolutely.
much have you noticed it come up in what amount of time at the yard?
Since I was a child,
Yeah,
a good 15 years ago, maybe longer. No, I mean, quite a bit. I'm gonna say, you know, probably 10 to 14 inches. We've, in the last 5, 6 years, we've raised all of our step outs.
yeah, no, I know.
And, you know, we've raised them level with the docks now. And, you know, even at a real good high tide, they're looking, you know, I mean, like, wow.
Sometimes yeah.
Yeah, you know, and, you know, who knows?
Floating over the gas dock. you know.
Yeah, you know, you just take a good guess at it and you wonder, you know, it might not increase for the next 50 years. Who knows what the cycle is, but I mean, it's definitely increasing, which is also, you know, it's just affecting everything. So I would say that, you know, they probably have some sort of an assessment.
Where did you send the grant? Who's,
Well,
to the feds, to the state, to,
this is a state grant.
So it's a state grant.
This is a state grant.
Basically, it's an engineering study.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean,
It's going to tell us, I mean, because we could just shoot from the hip and say, let's just pour 18 inches of concrete on this thing and see what happens.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we need to find out what the town dock is built on. You know, I would imagine at some point in time, it was built on a very large rock outcropping, hopefully sitting on ledge. But if we're shooting from the hip, we need to figure this out. We can't just go ahead and start a large project for it only to be buried, to build your castles in the sand.
Right.
You know, we don't want to build our castles in the sand. We want to support a commercial fishing fleet in the town of Westport to make sure that we are going through the correct orders of operation in doing something like this. And it all starts with the feasibility study. I've reached out to a company, GZA. They've done some projects here in town.
GVA,
GZA.
GZA.
Z, Zulu. And in talking with our town administrator, because this project is over $50,000, it's a $94,000 grant that was awarded, this needs to go out to bid. We can't just say, wow, GZA, you guys are great. Come on down, you
This
know,
bid is for what? For the
this is
actual work?
a feasibility.
For feasibility.
This is for a feasibility study. And the feasibility study is going to do boring samples into the town dock. It's going to have divers diving under the
Yeah.
town dock. It's going to take a look at, because the town dock is there's a lot of things going on there. We have floating docks, we have bulkheads, we have a ramp, we have buildings, we have electricity, no water. We have planking, we have superstructures. It's just,
What's,
there's a lot of things. It's not just, here's the stone pier that goes out.
Yeah.
On the surface, it seems like that. There's also a pier
the
connector.
information from the last rebuild?
That was,
Didn't they do core samples on those docks?
I would imagine, I talked to Chris Capone and I went and I actually found the drawings for the rehab of the dock for 2000.
Right.
I found them and then scanned them into the computer because there wasn't an electronic file. So it's like, while you're here, let's scan
Yeah.
these in.
Yeah.
So we do have some sort of playbook to take a look at
Yeah.
that I've passed off to GZA to take a look at. Whether, I don't know how long things are good in terms of
Yeah.
like, you know, what's the shelf life of a study done by who
Yeah, yeah.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know.
I mean,
This-
you know, when that was done, there was issue with sinkholes, and so, I mean, they had to have done some samples,
I'm sure there's
and,
more samples that are out there.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is history's mysteries that we're gonna have to dig up to take a look.
Right.
I know some of the pilings that they put in hit ledge because we do have a dolphin there and like and there it's all loose teeth because
Yeah.
they could only pound them in so far until they hit ledge, and then once you do that, that's pretty much the end of it. Then you just it is what it is at that point in time. So I'm trying to get this bidding process behind us. I know we did a bidding process for the shellfish relay contract because it's over $100,000, that it went on combis to have a fair bidding process for this. I believe that I'm going to do a similar thing to that, where we're going to write the proposal that's basically going to say we're going to take a look at the town dock. I think it has a book and page maybe in the map geo, which outlines the boundaries of that town property. And it's going to take a look at the pilings, the decking, the pier, the superstructure, the buildings, the pier connector, the electricity system, like
yeah.
the boat ramp, just everything that makes the town dock the town dock.
Right.
And then we're gonna get a report. $94,000, a $94,000 report to see, you know, what we're looking at. But this then would dictate future, hopefully Seaport grant money that would then be able to rebuild the town dock.
Yeah.
Because it did have a facelift in the year 2000. And now 25 years later, especially with the possibility of sea level rise, you know, we don't want the town dock to go underwater for unnamed storms because the wind blew out of the west and it was on a moon phase.
Didn't happen this year, which was
It
good.
didn't happen this year.
Happened 3 times last year.
Yeah.
I would have to say, though, in looking at the moon tides and high tides, oh, it's just right up to the,
Yeah.
it's like right up to the
Yeah.
parking, which is just a little unnerving. But we want to make sure that the town dock is looked at in moving forward.
Are there ongoing grants for rebuilding? Is
The Seaport Grant Council, it has,
that
it's,
what they
it's
do?
every spring and every fall you can put in for a grant. I've used this Seaport Grant Council before to upgrade the power pedestals on the town dock because we were having some issues with the power pedestals.
How much money do they have?
Oh, it was,
No, the Seaport.
probably a couple $1 million per season, spring and then we'll just say fall. It's twice a year they accept. We'll see if things are changing now. I'm not sure if there's anything that's going to happen to the Seaport grant. At a state level, we'll see. You know, I don't know. But until then, it's the best, it's worked out good for us and
I used them on the landing commission as well 2 years ago when we did the project at the head. And, you know, they're pretty open and you know, they're good people.
So there's a good, you know, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get the
yeah.
report and you can just keep right on moving.
Yeah.
yeah, you just,
That building in South Dartmouth on the, you know, on the north side of the bridge, on the east
Oh, yeah.
side, that was built with.
Is they have bathrooms in there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Public access, that sort of thing is really big in commercial settings, so forth, so.
Thank you.
So I was just curious, given they had a limited amount of funding, how did you manage to get 94,000? It says in our notes 68,000.
well,
They added some.
I was trying to get a ballpark figure from this, and it is kind of difficult to, because where do you start and where do you stop? And
So
the,
your request was 94?
after talking to GZA, who has done these in the past, I mean, I would love to have used a smaller scale kind of engineering firm, but this project is way out of that scope of just, we're building a dock on the Westport River. Oh, that's nice. This is something that we need to have somebody out of a bigger outfit. And so in talking with them and trying to send them aerial photographs, explain all of the entities that make up this, to have them come on site and take a look, that was the number that came up, that they came up with. Yeah, because for me, that would really be shooting for the hip. I said, oh, no, we want to get a professional in there to take a look and see how that goes.
But ultimately, this has to go out to bid, and you'll have to have a few other people that are able to bid on it, is that right?
Yes.
He's gonna need at least one.
But let's just say, you know, two companies bid on it. Do you need the third bid to say we're gonna go? Herein lies the problem, because we
You might
all,
not be able to find 3 people that can do that sort of job. Well,
these are all the things that, it sounds easy talking into a microphone and your best wishes, but where the rubber meets the road, it's not always easy, because these things come through that can really throw a monkey wrench into whatever project that you're trying to get off the ground. And these are, you know, it's kind of the known unknown or the unknown unknown. I always like that kind of thinking where, you know, something might happen, but you're not sure what. And so it's like that kind of thing where, oh, only 2 bids came back and, well, we can't really move forward with this project. You know, and that's,
we had that issue building all the stone walls at the at the head landing as well, you know, not many people, and we ended up with 2 bids, and we were able to award one. I think somebody actually dropped out as well too, so, but
Yeah.
it worked out in the end.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it then goes into some sort of public bidding process, I mean, I think that's a major component of it, just to make sure that you're not having some sort of sweetheart deal with
Yeah,
whoever.
exactly.
You know, you want to be able to go out there and have it bid on fairly by everybody, you know, and if we can meet that criteria. But that's something that remains to be seen, but once the process goes, it doesn't take that long, you know, it just has to be posted and has to go through the thing, and then I'll just say 2 weeks to a month later, you might have that time where it needs to be in at town hall in a sealed envelope on Friday by 2:00 with such and such a date, and then it goes before the select board to then have them make that decision.
Yes, sometimes you get no bids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, nobody wants to touch it.
Nobody wants to touch it. Yeah.
I'm sure with, you know, with the, you know, with the issue that all of the, you know, towns on the waterfront facing with rising tides and so forth, there probably there's people out there that are starting to look into this more, you know, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, well, we'll keep you posted on that. So that's something that's cooking for a nice grant, you know, for the,
Hey, at least, hopefully, we've set the ball in motion to get some work done.
oh, to get
You know,
some,
To
oh,
to find out what we need.
yeah. So the next thing that we're looking here in the discussion list would be town dock wharfage issues. And because the wharfage that is paid to the town goes into the Harbor Enterprise Fund, this is something that the Harbor Advisory could weigh into. We have town dock rules and regulations here. There's originally typed out, and then it's got some interesting font. And these are just the rules and regulations of, you know, thou shall not dump bait, you know, over, you know, off of the boat, or the hierarchy of privileges and guarantees and things like this. And so in the town dock, we've had, you know, people come and people go, people upgrade their boats, people get smaller boats, but generally the boat sizes of the people that are continuing to fish are getting larger. And I am just here because sometimes as the wharfinger, people don't really want to listen to me or my concerns. And I'm just here maybe
You're getting the
asking,
wrong answer.
yeah, maybe getting some sort of backing in the sense of if we have an issue where a commercial fishing vessel or a larger commercial fishing vessel, it's ultimately parking cars. We'll just break it simple. You have an 18-wheeler and you have a Honda Civic. You know, who goes where and with what. We have some issues with people have had a spot for 20 years, but the boat that they have is curtailing the ability of a larger boat to operate out of the point. So we would ask the person with the smaller boat to move into a location to allow the larger boats basically priority on the western dock, the west dock. It's where there's plenty of water, you have beamy boats that can sit there. And if I have a problem, I would probably bring it here first and ask for a recommendation to move a boat into a certain location that if not obeyed would then go to the select board for them to make a decision. Just say,
Some people
We
refuse.
want to be able to determine who goes where, basically.
something
The
like,
mapping because of need for larger vessels.
larger vessels show up, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's nice to have a spot that's yours, but sometimes, and this has happened in the past, where I said to the wharfage individual, I said, I'm not picking on you, but your boat is the narrowest of the fleet, so it needs to go in this location to allow basically progression of other people and fishing. And I just wanted to just let the advisory committee know of problems that may arise. And if we need to make a suggestion, if you would want to go down there and take a look at what we're dealing with. Ultimately, I don't want to be, I want to have
Some kind
a,
of backing.
some kind of backing or an advisory committee.
I would say to that, you know the dock, you can tell people where to go, and you have the right to tell them where to go.
Sure.
And if they give you a bag,
Well,
we'll call a meeting, have them sit right there, and we'll back you up.
and we'll take a look at it. And it's not, we're not looking to give, bubble gum to your friends or something like that. We're just trying to park the appropriate vessels in the appropriate spots for the people of Westport to be able to continue their livelihood. And we're not trying to single anybody out, we're just trying to park. We're just trying to create a parking scheme that works for everybody. So,
People get contracts every year
yes,
for their,
yes,
for their dock space.
correct.
I mean,
And so
yeah.
they know it's on a yearly basis.
We should update that rules and regulations, that
We can take a look at it.
slips are not permanent, they are,
It's pretty much spelled out here, but I don't blame, I mean,
well, yeah, 'cause
If-
somebody wants to stay in it.
if I was fishing for 40 years and somebody younger than me that might look like myself is telling you what to do and where to go, there might be a little issue. And that's ultimately what's happening. So, we're
But
not,
the issue is you're in control of the boats at the dock.
correct.
And you're ultimately, in charge of, taking advantage of the footage that we have down there in order for everyone to, be able to use the dock in harmony. But at the same time, max out the amount of revenue that brings into the town.
Absolutely.
That's how the town makes money, is by the foot down there, and that's bottom line. So,
You need to be able to manage that.
well, but it's just a matter of making sure everyone knows exactly
Yeah.
that they're on this spot from January 1 to December 31st, and they're renting it. They don't own it, they rent it, and we have the right to move anyone around that is gonna be the best advantage for the town, number one, and for the people that use the docks. I deal with this all the
Yes,
time,
I mean, this is-
and it's just not, you just have to put your foot down. I mean, ultimately, if you're asking them to go from here to here, they might not like it at first, but eventually, I mean, they're not gonna leave, because if they leave, they'll probably never see a spot
Do
there
you,
again.
do you, do a foot times beam, or is it,
No, it's just foot, $30 per
just
foot.
not thinking about doing a more complex, some of those boats are getting so beamy, it's just hard to believe. They can only be on an outside.
That's something that we could look at, because the wharfage rules and regulations haven't been looked at in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I have a copy here, but I can scan it and then we can send it out to everybody, maybe just to take a look at, see what we want to do, if there's any changes.
It probably needs to be updated in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and more importantly, make sure everyone that rents a spot down
You could make
there
some
also has a
serious
set
money
of
if you
rules,
did it
so
by the
they know,
square foot.
Yeah, well, I mean, foot times beam formula is kind of standard fare.
Is it?
Yeah, for an awful lot of places.
Okay.
And, some of those boats are getting very beamy. That's not like it used to be. All the boats are kind of the same formula. Now they're getting
yeah.
really big.
The problem that we're having is when that town dock was built, and I'll look to
Yeah,
my
there was-
historians here. When that town dock was built in, when was Westport incorporated?
1780.
1787, somewhere in there?
Who was it?
83 or 83.
Yeah.
780, yeah. So when Westport was incorporated and they started using that location as a town dock, what kind of boats did they have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now, whatever was built there, or however it was built and however it moved forward, not in their wildest dream, if we could wake somebody up from back then and say, hey, you want to come check out the town dock? Look what's parking down, look
Yeah,
what's tied up down there.
Yeah.
And they would say, wow, that's, 3 boats that glued together.
But then again, we did have some whaling ships in there too as well, so they've seen bigger boats
They've
there.
seen, yeah,
But not like we have
You
now.
could make that part of the feasibility study for what alterations might be made to our advantage.
It's something that needs to be taken, it's something that we need to take a look at. Do we extend the west dock out further to create, but how far are you gonna go into what volume of water that's traveling at what velocity and what, that it's really getting into, or how do you then dissect the additional, how do you dissect the existing thing to make more room, which is also a possibility. But that seems like an awfully large demo saw that you would need to start slicing and dicing this stone pier and whatever's underneath it. But that is something that needs to be taken a look at, that if we are gonna move forward and boats in general that are commercial fishing boats are going to become beamier, what can we do to accommodate them with our existing kind of situation? I don't know, we'll see. But, so anyway, we're just looking for a little bit of backing. I suppose I could also write a letter to the select board with whatever issue that we would be having down there. But I would want to include the Harbor Advisory Committee, seeing that the money does go into the enterprise fund. So I just wanted to make this aware to everybody here.
You could use as part of your enforcement that they may want to think twice about getting Harbor Advisory and the selectmen involved.
Well, I mean, it's nice to have.
It's a nice thing for you, but maybe not so much when the fishermen get moved over their objection.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I try to have common sense and be reasonable, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm using or abusing power that isn't common sense or reasonable. And I think that this is just another method to make sure that I'm not being crazy about whatever that might be. I don't know.
Whatever you do, it's all,
Whatever that might be.
it's all for the greater good, really, down there. So,
Ultimately, yes.
I think we need to revamp the rules, take a look at them, make sure that everyone understands them, make sure everyone that rents down there has a copy of them, and they understand them, and we go on from there.
Let me just say that the process of collecting money is more on a fiscal year, and the only reason is because fishermen are making money during July months and not so much in January.
Yeah.
So it was something that Gary Sherman did, who was the wharfinger before me, that the collections are done sometime in July.
I
So,
mean, that makes sense, certainly.
yeah, because, well, after Christmas, the new year, tax season's coming, there's a lot of things. You don't want to squeeze, I don't want to squeeze somebody too hard for
We
something.
can work with them.
But there should be a date for slip assignments too, that's probably before that.
Well, I think in the regulations, we're looking at a calendar year, but we're billing on a fiscal year, so that's something that needs to be looked at
Yeah.
and fixed for sure. But until then. And anyway,
You're going to forward a copy to everybody?
yeah, I'll send a copy to John, and we'll just be able to send that out. And I'll have to make sure, because there's a few copies. There's one that was done with a typewriter. This one actually looks like it came off of some sort of computer, so I'm not sure what we have.
You gotta find a file.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm gonna just double check with them to make sure, and to see if they have something electronically.
Yeah,
Because I don't even know if I have something electronically. It's just hey kid, here's
Should we rewrite it first so that we can all read it, or is it not that bad?
It's not that bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't talk about how much rum or
You
hardtack you're
probably
gonna
want to
get.
start with, you probably want to start with the original document anyway.
Yeah.
if
Doesn't use the word
if you
revenue
have
or
the
something?
electronic copy, you can just change the whole font.
Well, I have a few versions of it, and it would be nice to sit down. I think they're all pretty similar. But I'll have to take a closer look and see.
Well, just make sure that that any issues that might arise, that you brought up, obviously, Chris, is mentioned in here so that, it doesn't say what you really mean here, so make sure that it correlates with what you're trying to do down there as well, too.
We might have to make some policy changes just because of time changes. I mean, this exists in time as a standout. But as time moves forward, things change, so we want to make sure
Absolutely.
that, we want to make sure that we're covering ourselves for things that could happen in the future, that we want to make sure are spelled out
Right.
in a reasonable manner.
All right.
The next thing,
Permits. And
Permits.
We've been kicking this around.
we've been kicking this around, I'm not even sure that we could make any sort of decision on this. This is usually something that would want to be done maybe at the beginning of the new year or before the new year, so this might be something that would happen in 2026. I don't really know how many draggers are going to use Westport as a loading or unloading station with this newly dredged channel. I just don't know. We've had incidents in the past where we have boats coming from Point Judith with no electronics, no running lights, poorly maintained, running aground, running the rocks, running into the rocks in the Westport town moorings, because there is a rock pile in there. And these large boats are trying to save money. They're trying to save money with fuel. They don't want to go all the way to New Bedford. They're fishing in Rhode Island waters, and Westport's a great dump zone. But we do see broken pilings, wear and tear on the dock, trucks, this kind of stuff for boats that don't call Westport their home port. So we would be thinking about some sort of thing, some sort of permit. I'm just, $400 I think is a kind of a going rate. But at $400, do you really want to open Westport up to a whole bunch of boats doing this? And is it really worth it?
What, if $400 for a yearly permit or?
For a seasonal, a yearly, we'll just say seasonal
Yearly?
permit. Yeah, a yearly permit.
What is that range? I mean, I have no idea. The range, is it much cheaper? Is it,
It's,
is it Bedford or whatever?
I don't know exactly. I know we've been kicking around a $400 thing. There's somebody down at the town dock that deals with boats, a boat owner that has boats that straddle Hyannis and other places.
Well,
This might be something that we would want to talk to this individual about to see. I don't think that we can really make any action right now, but with this newly dredged channel, the traffic is going to increase, saying that, hey, Westport got dug out. Let's utilize it.
You can't deny access.
We can't deny access.
So it makes sense to charge something.
How many times a year, Chris, does this normally happen on the average?
It would be through the summer months, and it was usually like 2, maybe 3 different boats that would do this. There could be more. And they would be coming in, it depends on the catch limit and how long the boats, what they can catch in a 24-hour period, how far they're fishing. They could be a daily event, it could be a weekly event.
And they come into a spot that's
They-
open?
They come
or-
into the end of the town dock.
All right.
They would come into the end of the town dock,
And the end of the town dock's always open, so that,
yes,
okay. all
yeah.
right.
So that's,
And you're saying that if you advertise this, though, if you say, okay, we have
We're
a set fee and
yeah, we're
so
selling
forth,
permits.
we could increase that,
I'll just call it an attractive nuisance.
yeah.
This is an
Yeah,
attractive
yeah.
nuisance.
I mean, on one hand, you say, okay, 400 to get 20 boats in there, that's $8,000, but I mean, what else comes in with that? I mean, issues and
Oh,
problems?
it's boats running aground, people that don't know Westport, boats that aren't from here, and I've definitely fielded a few calls where large vessels in tight, narrow channels
Yeah, yeah.
don't have the ability to turn around. They are then dealing with the current, they are dealing with restricted mobility, they're dealing with all kinds of stuff.
Dealing with
that
residential
find-
boaters.
Oh, residential
Moorings
boaters.
and so forth.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
finds them in really bad locations. And it's not, because it's a commercial fishing boat, they're not going to Cuddy Hunk to eat a sandwich.
Right.
They're coming in at 11:30 at night, yet again shooting from the hip, trying to save a couple of bucks.
Right. So a truck's gonna come down, meet them, unload them, pay for it,
And-
Right now, we don't charge anything for that. We can just take a chance to come in that it's open and no one's there.
Yes.
It would seem to me that, if those people come in, we should tell them this summer that next summer, that we're about to start charging.
Yes.
Just, so that.
Oh, yeah,
they don't
just-
start-
just
so that
something.
The word doesn't get out that it's free and everybody shows up.
Well, I mean, we didn't have any come in, I mean, because more or less, it was too treacherous for these boats to even come and navigate an unmarked channel. How long the channel will hold up, how brave these boats are going to be. And these are boats that draw quite a significant amount of water. These aren't just drawing like 3 or 4 feet, they're drawing 7 or 8 feet. So it's already getting semi-dicey.
Right now, we charge nothing. They kind of come in.
Right
and
now, we
say,
charge.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, we should do a study now in the next, the coming months.
Yes.
So the utilization that's being done this year, and be prepared for a fee, possibly a fee for loading and unloading for out-of-town vessels.
2026,
Is
yeah.
it as simple as calling wharfingers in other towns to see how they do it, or?
I think that's a good start. It's, where do you want to start and where do you want to stop? Somebody has a sport fishing boat and they want to get diesel at the end of the dock. Do they need a permit? I don't know. You know, for a season of fueling up at the end of the dock.
I
You know,
mean,
that's a scope that we would have to, that would have to be
Yeah, I mean,
ironed
you-
out,
you-
like, are we
It's a-
Be
talking,
bringing fuel trucks down and.
right, if it's a
Yeah.
use
All this other
permit,
stuff.
it's a use permit, is what you use it for, offloading fish, taking on diesel fuel,
Whatever- whatever
Yeah,
it
right,
is.
right.
but this would have to be, this is what we would have to study and then define or redefine. I don't want to get too crazy where, well, do you have a fueling permit? Oh, do you have the unloading permit? You know, it's just like, how many permits do you want to sell? And who's watching it? Because when these boats are coming in at 11 at night or 11 in the morning or whenever, who's down there
Who's
saying, oh,
responsible, right.
yeah, well, we're going to get down there. And is it cost effective to have this watchdog?
So now we need a Chris Leonard cam.
Oh,
Pilings are expensive,
Yeah,
and
what?
I said pilings are expensive, so, somebody comes in with a big fishing boat, 11 at night,
But then,
the current's a little treacherous down there, and you snap a piling off, they're,
how much did your,
expensive.
how much did your stuff from Stefan cost?
What's that? Oh, the
Your cameras.
Cameras, I don't know, $1,000 for them or something,
is it a webcam?
yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I've talked about. We had the cameras are working at the point right now because we do have a security system that is revamped with a plate reader and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The problem is that we started doing it and then, $1,500 later, they're saying, oh, we're going to put the webcam up. And I said, I can't be spending $2,500 on cameras this year. I mean, it's nice to have the cameras that are working right now. But seeing that the fiscal year is coming to an end and ultimately I just have to play triage in to say, we have $3,300 left. What are we spending it on? Are we spending it on slow-no wakes or are we spending it on a webcam? I don't know. But we have to see what's burning the brightest because to do this job, you have to play the triage of who gets the red tag, the black tag, and the checkered tag. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're right, that would be, I wouldn't put a webcam up unless, you started to utilize the dock permitting process and see who's coming and going, and I have one on my phone, I've got a couple of cameras at the boatyard, so it's easy to access anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, the
Be in
webcams
front
are
of a
great.
laptop or something,
Oh, yeah, no, the phones are great, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just something to think about for this loading and unloading fee.
So you were talking about this season, trying to get a handle on how many times it's being used. So if they're coming at 11 o'clock at night, who's there to put a check mark that someone came in at 11? So you might need something like the webcam, just,
To take a look at, I tell you, it would be very difficult in your daily operations is to watch 12 hours of video while you weren't there
Well,
in a speeded up.
It probably could be motion activated, for, when a big boat comes in there, you should be able to set a motion.
yeah.
detector that'll
With
turn
today's,
on.
They don't even radio ahead, they just make all their arrangements and then they come in and park.
Doesn't seem quite right.
Right, I mean, you know,
You're not gonna get anybody at 11
Yeah,
o'clock at night.
there's no, yeah, nobody's.
right,
yeah, it's-
but they know they're gonna be heading there earlier in the day. They know
Yeah.
they're gonna go to Westport, because they have to make arrangements to have a truck meet them there, so.
Right.
At some point, they could, you know, make a phone call to the harbor master's shack and say, we'll be coming in 11 o'clock tonight, and, you know,
Do people ever try to overnight there?
Not without permission, no. No,
And is there a fee for that?
yeah. Well, it's $25 a day in these regs to have your boat at the head of the dock. I mean, this is just kind of,
that needs.
we try to accommodate everybody. If they have a breakdown and they need the end of the dock for an afternoon, because this also goes into marine construction. You have marine construction loading and unloading at the end of the town dock. You have boats fueling, you have draggers coming in. There's a lot of action. But at $400 a whack, you know, how
Where
is
else
this
are they
gonna
gonna
stack
go?
up? Oh, they don't really have another option,
Right, right.
other than the state boat ramp and to have their own equipment that they load and then splash, which happens too. But these are just things to think about. Let's move on to other business. If there's any other questions on this, let's
Any
move on to
other
other
that
business.
someone wants to bring up?
Oh, I do.
Other business.
Here we go. Now that the dredging is done, and I'm just the collective we, we're talking about Area B and how there would be no new mooring activity within Area B until the dredging is done.
Okay, so you want to move some,
I don't want to move anything. I'm here to say,
grant some,
I want to say that the dredging is done. Spindle Rock is going to be a mess. We would like to accommodate, you know, ideally our commercial entities that are out there in case there's any issues with Spindle Rock moorings, with any trips moorings, with anything that's out there, and Army Corps of Engineer kind of recorded. And then we could say that transfers would take precedent to any new moorings, which is what we're looking at, and we would have to then reinvigorate the mooring assignment committee. But I'm just curious as to moving forward with this whole thing, how we would like to do it. I mean, we want to make sure that the commercial entities have placement, then any transfers, and then any new moorings possibly. Because I know there are some people that, now that the dredging is done, either want to get replaced, got displaced, and so we're just gonna have to go through this season and see who comes
I
calling.
think you'll know by July, you know, everything will be settled in.
Oh, I
go
know,
by
I
in a
think
month
so.
or so, yeah.
I think, yeah, pretty much, I mean,
And then,
So-
you know, whatever's left over. The problem is down there is it's just a crapshoot. You know, you could throw a mooring in and it'll be 10 feet of water, it'll be 2 feet next year. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of expensive too, because you lose the mooring.
oh, absolutely, you're not getting it back,
They're not cheap anymore, that's for sure.
no.
So,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I mean, Spindle
mooring
Rock-
assignment committee will become active, let's say we'll
Yeah,
make a decision, and then the order is commercial, transfers, and new. Okay,
if everybody on this,
In
and if
that-
everybody here is,
In that zone you talk about, I mean.
in Area B
Yeah,
in
yeah.
particular, yes.
in, you know,
I think that makes
other
sense.
biz-
Yeah, once you get out of the sand mess, you know, it's pretty much stable, and,
Yeah.
you know, year to year, it's always the same, but
Mm.
down at the mouth of the river, it's
Oh, yeah,
terrible. It's
Yeah.
just clouds of sand everywhere.
You know, we can move around boats with drafts, so we don't really have to, you know, I mean, those moorings we have, we're never gonna pick those out anyway.
No.
So if we can utilize them, we'll utilize them, but
sure.
it's,
We had a committee, I was on one year, now, there was someone from Shellfish,
Yes.
and it was you or someone,
I think it was myself, somebody from the Shellfish, and maybe somebody from The harbor advisory, yes.
So does anyone want to serve on that? The mooring assignment committee?
Yeah, I will.
Ed does.
Okay, well, make a motion.
Yeah, I'll do it, that's okay.
Okay, does anybody have a problem with Eddie?
Conflict of interest here?
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think it would, I'd be definitely conflict of interest in there.
Well, I think,
you know,
yeah, I mean,
you know.
He's more remote from Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right,
Yeah,
it's,
he's
yeah.
more remote, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He certainly has knowledge of moorings and,
You know that area down there
Well, that's
better
what-
than anybody, I think.
That's
so,
what
you
we're
know.
looking for.
I think it makes
Yeah.
sense.
You know, you gotta know it every year, though. It's,
You know, I mean, if you have.
this year is probably the biggest change I've seen down there.
But
Yeah.
you're there every year.
Yeah, I was, I'm not doing it now, giving off the mooring business to somebody else. So,
You're gonna have to row your boat back and forth a number of times to figure out all the,
yeah.
I tell you, it's, right?
What's
It's-
that?
you better get your rowboat out, row back and forth on there.
Yeah.
With your lead line to see what the depths are.
Yeah.
I
You don't
make a
need to, your
motion,
boys hit the bottom all the
I
time.
make a motion that Ed Carey represent us on the
Yeah, I'm
mooring
gonna vote
assignment
no.
committee.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. And you can,
Want to talk about that other?
talk about shellfish, you know.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, I'll talk to the Shellfish Advisory to see who, because I believe the person that used to do it from the Shellfish Advisory is no longer on the Shellfish Advisory. So next meeting, we'll get somebody
Yeah,
from
and
that
then
side.
either
to-
you or Gary
Yep,
would, you know,
yeah, we take the boat out and we
Yeah.
go take a look.
Yeah.
So I think the last thing that I'm looking at for other business, we can talk a little bit about Hicksbridge Landing. We talked earlier how we're gonna put the floats, the old floats in Hicksbridge Landing to keep Hicksbridge Landing moving forward. I know there has been some talk, I didn't go to the meetings, but there were some talks about maybe some grant money and purchasing new floats for Hicksbridge. But I think the main problem that might have happened would be taking money from a grant that would then open up Hicks Bridge to become a state boat ramp as opposed to a Westport boat ramp for Westport citizens. I know that I've talked with Doug Cameron, who is the head person for state access to the water. And I've talked to him before, and this is years ago, about the 88 state boat ramp, because the Marine Services, we help out with the 88 boat ramp, the Hicksbridge boat ramp. And we talked a little bit about maybe mechanisms that we could somehow fix the Hicksbridge boat ramp. And I believe that there would be money available to fix the Hicksbridge boat ramp with the kind of caveat of it turning into a state boat ramp. And at this point in time, I believe that the Hicksbridge boat ramp doesn't really even have enough parking for town residents as it is.
I agree, absolutely.
And if the town were to make a decision to accept money that would then turn the Hicksbridge boat ramp into a state boat ramp, I don't think I can really get behind that, because it's something that has crossed my table in my time as the Director of Marine Services. And it was something that was talked about, but I think that it's especially what's going on with the parking issues that are there.
There's- In the paper, it said they already had $100,000 to do a study.
I'm not sure.
Which I think they did. There's a study,
But does that qualify as state access?
no.
No, okay.
Well, I mean, I don't think, it never took, it only once it takes place. When I was on the Landing Commission, the same deal was proposed at the head when we were talking about that whole piece of land. And yeah, the state will come in, the state will tell you how to build it, what to build, the handicap, everything's gotta be done the way that, any of the state ramps would be, and it would be open to everybody in the state. So, that's not what we wanted down there at all. It's not really a boat ramp, really, it's a, there's a there's a walkway down. So we went to Seaport Council, Paul Schmidt's office had appropriated some money, we were able to toggle it together and do it that way. And I think that the same thing would happen at Hicks Bridge Landing. Years ago, Richie came to us because the landing commission has control of the part that's the old landing. It's on the east and the west sides. On the east side, the landing comes down the entrance ramp about halfway through, over to the boat ramp about halfway through. And that chunk of land is what's under the landing commission's control.
Between the
Right.
ramp and the bridge.
Between the ramp and the bridge, yeah. Richie came years ago, and I'm not sure if it was supposed to be followed through every year, but asked us permission for landing, and we wrote up a small lease with no money exchanged in order for them to put the docks in there and the floats in there. The rest of it is all, it's not a landing, it's a boat ramp, it's under the jurisdiction of the selectmen. So, and we talked about it when I was on the board about doing something there, but once again, the same thing applied there that applied at the head. The state comes in, lights go up, blacktop, lines, handicap, drainage, the whole thing, everything. And, not to say that, handicap shouldn't, but, it just falls into a different category. So that's, I believe, what happened with the Mason Hall blocking the entrance off, because they knew that it would have to include that in order for it to work for a boat ramp. And they immediately said, well, you're not using our land anymore to turn the cars around, so I'm not sure if that's, or how that's gonna get rectified, but,
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think it's too small to,
well, it is.
Try to turn it into a
That's,
state ramp.
bottom line, it is, if we could come up with some money and if we could just, somehow locally put a new actual ramp in there, for what we do down there, for what's needed down there, and to control parking and cars and access, and, it's, for the state it's in right now, for the amount of cars that we get down there, it's somewhat problematic at times now.
Should
So-
the Harbor Advisory Committee, I don't know what the state of what the ongoing state of feasibility studies or building, should the Harbor Advisory Committee write a letter to the selectmen at some point, maybe not now, saying tactfully that we're not in favor of a state access?
It's probably not a bad idea,
Well, I move that John write the letter, and
we feel that it's just not it's not a,
You can write the letter.
I can't write letters.
But
it's not gonna enhance the river at all, and,
You
and
can't,
AI to do it for you.
yeah, it's really,
What's your opinion on it?
When they do that, if it became a state, I had some experience elsewhere, they'll put it on a state map. So people who are looking for places to put boats in Williamstown,
well, it would operate like the state Route
Exactly.
88 ramp does now.
exactly.
And the 88 boat ramp on a summer afternoon,
It's a zoo.
not only does the parking lot get full, the overflow gets full.
Yeah.
It turns into a complete nightmare, and even on a summer weekend afternoon with Westport residents only, the Hicks Bridge Landing gets extra jammed up also.
yeah, then you're gonna have all that,
So I think,
just control of,
I think the writing's on the wall.
yeah.
I think it's not big enough.
Yeah.
It's not big enough. It could be entertained if we had 30 acres of field and said,
Oh, absolutely,
park your
yeah.
boats here,
Yeah,
this
no,
is,
no,
come on down, this is great. But ultimately, if we don't have enough room for the people of Westport, it sounds like it could turn into like a beach parking where you sell 300 boat ramp passes for Hicks Bridge and there's only 30 spots.
Right.
And then what do you do?
Yeah.
Can you imagine
And then
the-
what do you do?
Can you imagine the jet skis that would be up there as well, too? Perfect spot.
Oh, they're gonna be,
Yeah. Well,
So,
So it's-
What about the other, like Adamsville Landing and the other landings around, are they town only, or anybody can use those, can't they?
Adamsville Landing was originally put in for the residents of Westport and the entire state of Rhode Island, so I mean.
Where?
But they collected coal.
Adamsville.
They collected coal down there. The coal
Yeah.
barges would come in and they
Right,
would collect coal
right.
and other stuff.
But it
You
doesn't
know.
say that on the sign, right?
No,
It just says
no.
dust.
But it is in the, it is in the
The
original
bylaws.
paperwork,
Yeah.
in the
And
bylaws.
there's the one down the point, right, beside the shack. Is that a public landing?
It's really not a landing. There's a landing area.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really include a ramp down there. The landing actually is just to the east of Lee's Wharf House, the Oyster House
Yeah.
in there now.
Right.
And it basically, if you look across to see where the bridge was,
Yeah,
they built the bridge on the landing. And the idea was if the bridge ever came down, the land would revert back to the town, because you can never, once there's a town landing and it's given to the town, it can never be sold or given to
Yeah.
anything else. So it's there, but it's not really utilized.
right.
So it's kind of lost in that area
Yeah.
down there, so.
Except it's still ours.
Except it's still there, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's other landings around the town, too.
There's Emma Trip
Specifically
Landing, there's a
town.
landing across from, just before you get to the Gooseberry,
Yeah.
There used to be a ramp down there years and years ago, but,
Right,
like East Beach, every 3 years you gotta
Yeah.
rebuild it all, so.
right.
We like to keep the we always wanna keep the landings for what they were, just, access to the water, not a
Yeah.
boat ramp, not a, just, Anyway.
Can people put in small motorboats still at Adamsville?
Yeah, occasionally.
yes,
Mostly-
something real
Mostly
small.
canoes and kayaks.
You know, you come down like this, the road
You
goes off
carry
like
it.
that, and right
Yeah.
there on the left is a
Basically, you
new
have to
house.
carry the boat.
Yeah.
I know,
They built out
You know,
onto town land.
They
And
did?
put-
You know,
Put
you-
a retaining wall on town land, yeah.
And what's the town doing about it?
It's resolved. I think they sold it to them. It was, they couldn't
There was-
involve
they can't-
lawyers because,
they can't sell it to them, but they can lease the area that
is that what
that
happened?
the land is on, yeah. The same thing happened at the head, when that house was sold and the fence went up, and thank God Sean Leach knows how to read old charts and old maps, because he straightened it all out for us, as he did at Adamsville as well, too. Some of the old maps are, still the oak tree and the rock and the shadow
Yeah,
of the
right.
sun at 10 o'clock in the morning. It really, it's pretty amazing, but, it all works itself out. But anyway, so, yeah.
Motion to go home?
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at with that whole thing. I mean, it's
So
just
is
not.
the issue we've been talking about, if I can get it straight?
Sure.
Is it that the ramp needs to be rebuilt there at
Ultimately, Hicks Bridge
Hicks Bridge.
was, the forms for Hicks Bridge were built sometime in the 70s in the parking lot and then dragged down and put in. The floats that are at Hicks Bridge are recycled floats from the 88 boat ramp.
Yeah.
When they redid the floats, the town took control of the floats.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the floats, I'm talking about the ramp itself.
The ramp itself is, the problem with the
Not a
ramp.
great ramp.
It's not a great ramp. It serves a purpose. It was built very cheaply. I mean, it's how the departments run, with bubble gum and some string and some cement and
Yeah.
a.
The best thing that ever happened was putting those floats in there, though, because it
Yeah,
made the
the
ramp
floats are great.
a lot more usable, really.
Is
Great.
there anything Harbor Advisory could do to resolve the impasse between the landing and the Masons?
I think that
They
they.
didn't mind when it's just the way it is.
I think the harbor advisor can offer comment, but until then, the control is the landing commission and the select board having. And to me, it reminds me of just like I Love Lucy, where they painted a line down the middle of the house and said, this is your side, this is my side, but we both live in this house.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we could offer some sort of, the harbor advisor could offer some sort of comment. As a stakeholder, does the harbor advisory really have much? No, I mean, and what I do is we offer the boat to put the floats in and maintain the floats, and Chris Gonzalez
So
helps
what-
us
so what-
with that kind of thing, and
It pulls them out?
pulls
So
them
what
in,
it
and
may-
this,
It may come to is that the idea of a state ramp or an expanded ramp or,
at that point,
when that idea all goes away, they may become
Right,
more amenable.
right.
I think at that point in time, though, if it is put on the table to say, do you want this to become a state boat ramp, I think that the Harbor Advisory should have some sort of comment on
Yeah,
that.
we don't want that.
I mean, yeah.
You know, there should, and should is a very strong
Definitely we
word,
would,
but,
you know,
Well, do you think the state would even have any interest in doing something
absolutely.
that small?
oh, yeah.
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's only so much access to the water, and if they could grab more access, that's what they're looking to do.
Yeah, they were interested, they had a Westport as well, too. I couldn't believe it, because it's access, public access, you know?
Right.
But we really can't, even that small piece of landing area that we have left down there, it's really not supposed to be able to be transferred to anyone, anytime, anywhere, anyhow. And so I think if somebody really wanted to push it, that would be one reason, not, because that's always has to remain
would be the
town
Band-Aid to
property.
stop,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
You can't give too much away. I might bring up the state beach
Well,
at this point.
All
anyway,
right, the end of May. You want to skip a month, or you want to go another meeting at the end of May to see your returns?
It's the board's pleasure as to when we want to do it. I mean, it's,
After Memorial Day?
yeah, we can get some numbers by then, because we're just starting the collection right now.
Yeah,
So,
Wednesday, the 28th, is that okay?
28th of May?
28th of May?
That's a Wednesday? We're doing Tuesdays usually, right?
Wednesday, I got the calendar, May
28th? That's Wednesday, right?
Wednesday,
Yeah, we don't usually do Tuesdays?
do you mind if we go into June? I might have a wedding.
okay. June,
Yeah,
you want to
sorry.
do a Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday works better for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
Tuesday,
Tuesday, June 3rd, or June 10th?
the 3rd or the 10th. I'm just looking into
Any
my,
preference?
Third.
3rd?
Tuesday.
third, Tuesday? Okay.
Thursday, Jesus.
June 3rd.
That's unanimous.
At the same time, is that good for everyone?
Sure.
yeah,
Okay, because I know you got little kids.
thank you. Yes.
All right. A motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Adjourn